Hey, what's up guys, I'm TechSage and today we're gonna do a little video about RAM. We're gonna see if 16GB of RAM is still enough or if you should go with 32 already. There are two main things we should know about before we're getting started, besides the RAM amount, and that being CL rating and RAM speed. Let me give you a simple example. Let's say I'm a RAM stick, and these cubes are the memory I use. The speed of the RAM is basically how fast it can transfer the info. So basically, how fast I can take and give back these cubes. Now, the CL rating represents the time I take as a RAM stick to get this information ready. In this case, how fast I can solve the cube and get it ready to be taken. Now, if we actually count that as a RAM stick, I will be really slow and I will be discontinued. Now regarding the RAM, I'm gonna use this Corsair Vengeance 32GB kit, and as you can see, the speed is 3200 MHz, currently known as mega transfers per second, and the 16GB kit that was already in the laptop and has the same identical specs, 3200 mega transfers per second and CL22. We're in the actual game right now, running the 32GB kit, and as you can see we are at hitting that 16GB mark, meaning the game is pretty optimized. By the way, optimization is the process that makes a program run the same using less resources. Basically meaning less RAM, less CPU, less GPU, but still getting the same results. Now getting back to the game, we have an average of 73 FPS, running the max settings. If we compare that to the average FPS while running the 16GB kit, we can see that it's way lower, nearly a 10 FPS drop and a way less usage of 2GB of RAM. Moving on to Fortnite, we can see how big of a difference is the RAM upgrade. With 32GB we hit 30 more FPS from time to time, staying at over 90 always and over 100 most of the time. With the 16GB we are always over 80 and most of the time over 90. Another important thing that I didn't mention is that I can run more demanding settings with the 32 kit. While benching Fortnite with the 16GB kit, I couldn't run the same settings with a stable over 60 frame rate, and I had a lot of stutters, that clearly being the RAM, because we can see how low the usage on the CPU and GPU is compared to the RAM. Basically meaning, if you want better frames in Fortnite, don't upgrade your GPU, upgrade your RAM. Besides Forza and Fortnite, I've run around 10 games in total. And I've run FPS games like Valorant, I've run AAA games like Hogwarts Legacy, and I've seen a big increase in basically every single one of them. The most increase is in AAA games that use that AI scaling, like frame generation, and games that are based on Unreal Engine 5 like Fortnite. The minimum FPS increase was in pretty optimized games like Forza, and those were around 2 to 5%, and in badly optimized games like Fortnite, the FPS increase was really big, to around 10 to 30%. Now, as the new year 2025 came, I bet all of you are thinking, should I upgrade or still stick with 16GB of RAM? Well, if you're a gamer and a productivity guy that makes video editing, photo editing, and plays games from time to time, I'm pretty sure you should do that upgrade. Nearly most of the games I've played take up from 20 to 24 gigs of RAM. You can still play games like with medium settings and older games, but the newer games right now, they need at least 24 gigs of RAM. So now if you're getting a new system, and especially a laptop, some laptops come with 24 gigs of RAM, so if you have that variant, you better go with it. Or if you actually have the budget, go with 32. Now of course there are still people that don't need those 32 gigs of RAM. Those are the people that use their personal computer mostly for streaming videos and playing older titles or just gaming at lower settings. But it's the last year you're can stick with 16 gigs of RAM. Now that you have to upgrade to Windows 11 and that newer apps always use more and more RAM, you're gonna be forced eventually, like around next year, to go with or 24 gigs of RAM or 32. Well, of course this is merely speculation, but seeing how things goes this year or next year, you're most probably gonna change your RAM finally.